So I was born in Chennai, in the southern part of India, and my first migration experience was at the tender age of 3 months when we moved to Singapore, where my parents were working. Growing up in Singapore is safe, it's sheltered, you know, you do what's expected of you. But I really wanted to step outside my comfort zone, did a lot of research as to where I wanted to go, and I ended up in Palmerston North in the middle of winter. Yeah. Pajamas at the supermarket. Yeah, that was a complete culture shock. You know, I saw people in onesies in the supermarkets, and it was quite interesting. So my dad is a civil engineer. I say is because he still is. He tried retiring, wasn't for him. He turned 80 last year. He's a hard worker. So I think I've learned work ethic from him. My mum was amazing. She was the first feminist I ever knew. She was off the generation, I guess, where you weren't your children's friend growing up. You were their parent, and she definitely parented us. But as I grew older, she relaxed a lot more, and the relationship changed to one of friendship. She was someone who was very staunch about integrity and telling the truth. Even if it's difficult, tell the truth. You know, I've lost her, and so part of her, I guess, is always with me. It was before COVID, which actually was a blessing because by then she was bedridden and she had 24/7 care, and through COVID that would have been really difficult. Trying to cry. But yeah, it's very difficult seeing someone you love just waste away. It's kind of sad and funny at the same time, but when I got into Parliament and it was the time for my maiden speech, she really wanted to come, but she couldn't travel. And she had Parkinson's and early onset dementia. And so my dad would sort of walk into the room and see her getting ready and ask her where she was going, and she kind of conflated things, and she would say she was going to Buckingham Palace to watch my maiden speech, which was, you know, and she would tell people on the streets that her daughter was a member of Parliament in New Zealand, and everyone thought she was making things up. But I like to think she'd be proud. Hey, good doggies. Oh, it's when I know I'm home, really. I open the door and these two just come charging at me for cuddles, and, you know, they're just the most excited to see you. I mean, like, the husband's a bit excited, but the dogs just go absolutely insane. Ewan and I, my husband and I, joke that we had an arranged marriage because we had a friend in common who basically set us up. And she said to me quite some years ago now, I was at the time moving from Auckland to Wellington for work. And she said, oh, well, you know, you're not seeing anybody. I'm going to set you up with someone. And she showed me pictures of her cousin and a friend of hers and said, pick one. And he was just the kindest, gentlest person that I'd met, and I really liked that. But he was also thoughtful and he was smart, so ticked a number of boxes. I'd always been a commitment phobe. We'd bought a house within 9 months of meeting, so
that's probably a sign.
Took that as a good sign. Yeah. So sometimes I think of myself as a bit of an accidental politician, but I feel, you know, the privilege of being someone who's migrated to a country and then gets to represent this country at the highest levels of decision making is, I think it says more about New Zealand, frankly, and New Zealanders and the political system in New Zealand than it does about anything else. I also come from a matriarchal community and a long line of strong women. But getting into Parliament, it's sort of walking down these corridors with, you know, old photographs, and it's ornate, it's beautiful, there's a sense of almost sanctity. It was quite overwhelming, really. I'd walk around. I'm also directionally challenged, so I was lost a lot. I ended up in the National Party corridor a couple of times. They were very sweet though. They'd be like, are you lost again? My first memory of a home when I was about 2 years old, while it was in Singapore, was on a street called One Tree Hill. So it's a full circle moment for me to be the MP for Maunga Kia.